Hello everyone, welcome back to another video. My name is Manny, in case you're new here, or welcome back. Today I am back with another Let's Chat video on a topic that I've been wanting to talk about for a little bit, and that is how to maintain independence in a relationship, my experience with that, and just everything about that topic because I thought it'd be super fun to talk about. So let's get into it. So I guess I'll go over like my experience with being in a relationship and my independence and the development of my independence and stuff like that. I got into my first long-term relationship when I was grade 12 in high school. So it was like midway through grade 12, and it was like a really fun, like just typical high school relationship that everyone gets into, I feel like, because you have to bring a prom date and all that stuff. But yeah, I got into a relationship and we actually ended up dating all the way until almost the end of first year. When I was dating in grade 12 with that person, I thought it was pretty fun and just like a typical high school relationship. As I said, we would like drive to see each other because we both had cars, and like we had free time and we could go to restaurants and stuff like that. It was just like a very wholesome, fun time. But when we both graduated and decided to do long distance in first year, that is when our relationship kind of changed. I decided to stay in Vancouver, and my ex at the time wanted to go across the country to Ontario to go to school. So I was like, you know what, long distance, we can do that. We're gonna beat the odds. Like, we are that couple that are gonna beat the odds. Little did I know. No. I would just say that being in long distance combined with all of the other external factors that I went through in first year really made for like a not good experience. I think I've said this a couple times on my channel, but I'm pretty open, and I've said that my first year I didn't really like it. Wasn't that fun for me. It just combined for a lot of reasons, and my relationship was a big part of it because I was so addicted and obsessed to talking with my boyfriend, and I felt like I had to talk to him 24/7 and stuff like that. I was so obsessed to the point where like every time I knew that he was in his dorm room, whether it was like just by time or whatever, I would like FaceTime call him, and I would literally cry if he doesn't pick up. I would call him like 15 times, and this is born like very unhealthy for anybody. So yeah, I feel like now that I'm in like a healthier relationship, and also I have a healthier relationship with myself, I can see that going back I was like, oh, that's really not good. I don't know, I kind of have a bunch of ideas to talk about in this video, so it might seem kind of disorganized, but I've been seeing a lot of TikToks recently on my For You page that like talk about like the needy, obsessive girlfriend and clingy and stuff like that, and then like the boyfriend that's not as clingy. It's not that I don't think making jokes about it is bad. Like, I think it's quite funny, and I think a lot of us can relate to stuff like that because, to be honest, like even in my current relationship, I love seeing my boyfriend, and like I want to see him all the time because I love him so much, and I just want to like hug him and everything like that. But there is also a fine line that you tread with being obsessive and having like someone around just so you don't have to deal with your own problems. I've been spending a lot of time by myself in this pandemic, obviously, because can't see any of my friends, and I've been kind of super cautious this past year. So I would say that I've been spending a lot of time by myself, and to be honest, I thought that I would be more craving social interaction, but I'm not really, which goes to show, I guess, for me personally, I think I have a very healthy relationship with myself now, and at least like I don't mind spending time by myself. Whereas if you talk to me in first year when I was in my long distance relationship, being by myself was such a struggle. I really did not want to do it. I felt like I had to have people around, whether if I couldn't talk to my like ex-boyfriend at that time, like at that second, I would have to go find my friends and be like, I need to find my friends, I need to be with my friends so I don't like look like a loner. And yeah, it was just like a very unhealthy thing. Not a good time. Not a good time. I guess for me, after first year, when I ended up breaking up with that boyfriend, I was like, I'm gonna spend this summer doing independent things, gaining my own independence, becoming comfortable with myself, and that's what I did for a lot of the summer. I started going to the gym, and I feel like that's like the typical like work on yourself activity that people do, because like whatever people say they're gonna start working on themselves, they always resort to going to the gym. But I think that that's not necessarily the only way that you can work on yourself. There's a lot of ways that you can, but I would say going to the gym is like one of the most accessible and one of the easiest ways to start working on yourself, because you have other people around you that go to the gym, you can learn from others, and it's also just like a time that you can solely focus on yourself. But to be honest, I've also been getting into a lot of like journaling and meditation, and I feel like a lot of those things are also very like self-focused activities as well. But if you're not as much of like a introspective and reflective person, then those activities might not work for you. But anyways, after first year, I decided to start going to the gym, and I started going with a friend who taught me all of the like machines and stuff, which was really helpful because I had no idea how to do anything at the time. And by the end of the summer, I would say I was very comfortable with myself. I was very comfortable like being by myself, doing things by myself, whereas before I couldn't. I also felt like I had a more solid group of friends going into second year, and it just overall was a better experience. More recently, a lot of people are very concerned that they're not getting into their first relationship by age like 20, for example, or not having their first kiss by age like getting out of high school, you know. And I feel like there is a lot of social stigma and pressure to fit into these societal pressures, and honestly, I can't even say for myself like that I can empathize with you, because obviously I got into my first relationship before high school ended, but I had a lot of pressure too. I felt a lot of pressure like having my first kiss. I remember this one time when I was in grade 12, at the beginning of grade 12, my high school used to do like a grade 8 and 12 bonding night where like the grade 12s would bond with the new grade 8s and like tell them about their high school experience and all that stuff. And like I remember this one night we had a Q&A session, and like the grade 8s were allowed to ask the grade 12s anything they wanted, obviously within reason. Everyone was comfortable answering and stuff like that. But one of the grade 8s asked like, oh, when did you guys have your first kiss? And it was so like mortifying to me at that time when I was in grade 12, because I was like in my head, oh my god, I haven't even had my first kiss yet. And then everyone went down the line and everyone was like, oh, I had it in grade 9 or grade 11 or whatever. And then I was like, I haven't had my first kiss yet, which was like very overwhelming for me. I know this is such like a first world problem, and I realize that there are a lot more bigger issues, but for me personally, that was like a breaking moment for me, I guess. Like saying that out loud, I was like, it's okay to not have your first kiss yet, because personally for me, I was waiting for someone that was like really special, and I felt like was like worth having my first kiss with. But yeah, that was like a really interesting experience. That was like a tiny little story that I wanted to tell you on the side. But yeah, I would say from then until now, I've also changed a lot, to be honest. Like at that time when I started going to the gym, I was like, oh my god, I'm so independent and so like myself now, like I don't need no man. But even from then until now, I've noticed that at the time also like I wasn't as independent as I thought. And what I mean by that is, especially with the pandemic, I've noticed that before, my identity was comprised of a lot of external activities, and that kind of might not make sense at first, but what I mean by that is I've really taken notice as to before how I would truly just fill my time with kind of not as meaningful activities to give myself a sense of identity, if that makes sense. That's kind of deep. But for example, I would get myself to do things like, I'm trying to think of an example. Let's say you're not me, and let's say you don't like going to the gym, but you do it anyways because people tell you to. That would be an example of an activity that's just filling your time to me. It's not something that you're truly passionate about, and you're just doing it because you want time to pass and you want to be able to say like, oh, I go to the gym and I'm healthy. To me, that's like not what I want. I want to be able to fill my time with things that I genuinely enjoy. And that was a really long tangent, but I'm trying to get to the point that throughout this quarantine thing, I've noticed that before I did really fill up my time with these useless activities. Like I've never really been one. I like parties, but not a ton. But I feel like I would go to a ton just to like please my friends or the ones that want to go. So those kinds of things, like once the quarantine thing has gotten rid of them, I was like, wow, like I feel like truly now is like I can choose how to spend my time, because I'm literally given a blank slate. I'm at home most of the time, and although I can't do a lot of things because of quarantine and stuff like that, at least like I'm given the opportunity to take full charge of the way I spend my time instead of like having other people's obligations fill into my timetable and having other people's responsibilities and having to take care of them. Like, we don't want that at all. I feel like half the things I'm saying don't even make sense, but I hope this will be a cohesive enough video, because to be honest, I tried filming this yesterday and I was really not in the mood, so I really hope this works out. I saw a TikTok once that it was like, oh, anyone notice how the relationships that started in 2020 are so much healthier than the relationships started before? And when I was thinking about that, although I think it's like kind of a placebo, I don't really think it's true for everybody. I do notice that like my relationship that started in 2020 has been a lot healthier, because I feel like we weren't able to go out and just cover up all our problems with doing expensive things, if that makes sense. In past relationships, I would like cover up problems or avoid bringing them up by like spending more money on more expensive meals or buying lavish gifts and stuff like that, to avoid like bringing up these like confrontational things, because I hate confrontation. I am really like the worst at it. So yeah, like this current relationship that I'm in, we don't have the opportunity to do that because we're literally not allowed to go out to restaurants, and having to be able to communicate with each other and really understand each other throughout this entire year has been like a very rewarding and healthy experience, because now I think my relationship now is so much healthier than I could ever imagine. I can't remember, but I think I watched a Best Dressed video where she was talking about how women are made to feel like they're not important enough or valued the same way as if they were with a man, which I thought was a very interesting concept. I think in traditional cultures, especially with me, like even my grandparents and like distant relatives back in China, they feel the same way. Like they're like, the man of the household is really valued and more important than the woman of the household, which is not true, crazy to believe. But I think, to be honest, it might be just because like I'm a young person and I'm surrounded by a lot of young people. I feel like that's not the case anymore. A lot of young women and just any people in general are really being empowered to show off who they are as an individual before they get into relationships, and they understand their value before getting into a relationship. So that is my biggest tip. I wanted to get to this point, was that you need to be able to know who you are as an individual before you get into a relationship if you want it to be healthy, long-term, and just good vibes all around. Because I feel like if you go in with like a weak foundation of yourself, I kind of imagine it as like a building, right? Like you and your partner are the foundations. If you yourself have a crumbly foundation and you don't really know who you are, what your values are, what you believe in, what you prioritize and stuff like that, your relationship that builds on top of it is going to be very, very like on weak foundations, obviously, because you're a weak foundation. Whereas if you come in with like a strong sense of yourself and a strong identity and a strong sense of beliefs, like that combined with your partner also being that way will create a really healthy relationship, I think. And to be honest, you don't have to be like perfectly defining yourself, because also your identity changes a lot, especially during your young adult life. But if you're not codependent on your partner and you're not codependent on people to form your sense of identity, then I think that'll be a lot healthier in the long run. I was watching the Mosaic Trend on TikTok last night, and I thought it was really cute to think that we are all built up of the people that surround us. But I also saw one that was not really in a positive light like the typical trend is. I saw one that was like, I'm a combination of all the things that I needed when I was a teen, so I can be that for everyone else around me, which I thought was very impactful, because to be honest, I think I try to do that too. Obviously, I pick up a lot of phrases and things to do based from my parents and from my friends and stuff like that, but I also really try to be an individual that is better and gets better every single day. But yeah, I think that's really impactful to know that we are a combination of everyone around us, but also that we are ourselves. That's what makes us so special, because everyone's group of people around them is very different, and depending on your circumstances, your like home status and all that stuff, like your personality is going to be very different and who you are is going to be very different from everyone else. To be honest, I think I'm going to leave the video here because I feel like I'm not making coherent sentences right now, and I feel like I haven't been able to film this week. So I hope you enjoyed what this video was. I don't even know how it's going to turn out. We'll see if it makes it to the internet. But I hope you enjoyed. Give it a thumbs up if you did. Leave me a comment down below if you relate to anything or want to know anything more, and subscribe, and I will see you in my next video. Bye.
And I was like, yo.